welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be looking in the engine bay. We got that dipstick tube figured out, back and installed. However, we came across something that was a little unfortunate. I ordered a bunch of gaskets. Took about a week to get here, but they're finally here, which means I can finally make this video. Let's get to it. Whoa, where did my beard go? It's been a while. I'm still working away on the engine bay. Here's how it looks at the moment. There's been a ton of things everywhere that are wrong that I've been trying to figure out. It's been a very interesting puzzle. The whole reason why I had to tear apart the engine in this extent was the dipstick rusted in half, it broke. It happens, part of life. You just fix it, you move on. However, when I took off the exhaust manifold driver's side, one of the bolts was snapped into the head, and it was literally the one that is hardest to get to. It's the bolt all the way at the back over here. No way to tap that out so it could put the exhaust manifold on properly and not get a vacuum leak. So I had to take the head off so it could drill out that hole so I could get a new bolt to actually bolt everything back in properly. And in order to do that, I had to take the air intake manifold off. And I'm happy though, because I'm definitely really close to getting there. I'm gonna have to tune up my carburetor just because I rebuilt it, and I'm gonna want to kind of play around with that. It does have a bit of trouble starting. I got it fired up and it's super loud because I'm in a garage. There's no exhaust. I need to fix the frame before I do the exhaust just because it kind of gets in the way. Okay, so I really wanted this video to be like tearing the engine apart, fixing all the stuff that was wrong with it, putting it back together, turning the key, it fires up, life is great. However, in reality, that's not how working on a car kind of is. What I mean by that is I can pour gas down the carburetor and it fires up, so I'm happy, it sounds good. I was able to tune the carburetor a little bit. I took it off a couple times and made adjustments. I cannot say the engine bay in itself is done yet because the fuel lines that ran to it, like here's part of one, there's 3 on each side. 3 of them on the passenger side are snapped like this, so maybe it was the original one and someone put a replacement set on the other side. Not really sure, but I'm gonna fix the frame first before I replace all of the fuel lines that are bad. And the fuel lines is why the engine won't start, because every time I crank it over, the gas just spills out onto the floor instead of going into the engine. I'm gonna move on to the frame. I already took off the front bumper. When I got it, I never even had a back bumper, but I have one now ready to go on. I'm gonna be working at the very front, working my way all the way to the back, trying to figure out where does the frame need repair. 2, do I have enough metal to repair it? And then 3, plan my work and work my plan. Working on the frame, this is my thought process. I grabbed a couple hammers. I just went from the front of the frame all the way to the back, very slowly, hitting it with a hammer, trying to find weak spots. A bunch of rust ended up falling, because obviously you don't want rust falling off of the frame. I know what I need to do now. I'm gonna sweep all this stuff up. Then I can, with my reference, I'm gonna mark up with a pen everywhere that it needs to be replaced. I am gonna start on the frame. I also have a lot of smaller projects on the go with this. And as much as I wanna make them its own video, I kinda don't, because I wanna make videos that relate to the progress when it's happening instead of, oh, here's this little part, here's that little part. I started taking out the radio. I got this OEM one that I'm gonna be putting back in. I also started collecting cassette tapes when I bought this. If you've never done a radio install before, it looks really complicated and it looks like a complete mess, but it really isn't. Like most, all these are just speakers, all these wires. And these ones are your power and your ignition and then your ground. So it's not too difficult to get it figured out. Just watch a couple of videos outside of this one because I'm not going to show you how to do it. I'm just going to do it and show you that it's working, I guess. So that's one thing I'm working on. The second thing is these Jeeps never really came with a center console with cup holders. Like, let me go back in the Jeep. Any excuse to sit in this seat, it's so comfy. Anyways, yeah, so here are the cup holders that it kind of gives you. This part just folds down and hey man, you do you, but I'm gonna make my own cup holder so I don't spill my beverage everywhere. I did a lot of research. I haven't seen anyone do this idea yet, which makes me want to do it. But basically, on some models, on the headliner, there's like a centerpiece where you can put your glasses or the garage door opener and stuff like that. So I got one, which is this piece. I already took the fabric off, which I'm gonna use as a template. But what I'm gonna do is, instead of putting this on my headliner, I'm gonna take out the center seat and I'm gonna put this in its replacement because it's the exact length that it needs to be. And it kind of matches with the shape and everything. So it looks like it's gonna belong when I'm done. But yeah, so what I did is I've just been scavenging around getting a bunch of different things that I would like for myself. So this one is a cassette holder because I'm going to be into cassettes with this vehicle. And then I also got some aftermarket cup holder. Yeah, so I'm still kind of playing around with how I want it to be configured in terms of where certain things are going to be. I've never melted plastic and reformed it and did any of this stuff, so it's going to be kind of interesting. The headliner is going to be that pink Mexican blanket. And what I'm going to do is the center console, I'm just going to match with the headliner because finding this carpet is very difficult. It's not even a maroon, it's like a lighter red color. So that's kind of what I'm working on. And then I'm going to cover it in a blanket that looks kind of like this. I've also been kind of busy with other projects. So here's a quick update on the Corvette. Wow, what was wrong with the Corvette? There's so many things wrong with it. That's why I'm like, well, what's wrong with it again? What was the last thing wrong? It was leaking fuel. It had a vacuum leak on the air intake. The gasket for the exhaust header on the passenger side. Hopefully that's what's causing the smoke to come out. It might be a head gasket. I'm really hoping it's not. I'm kind of finished with head gaskets, hopefully. The power steering pump was, the pulley for the serpentine belt was shaking, and that threw the belt, and then the belt did some more damage and stuff. So I fixed all the power steering stuff, fixed the fuel leak, fixed the vacuum leak on the air intake, redid the exhaust on it. The wheel bearing on the driver's side, it's amazing how this all comes back now. So the wheel bearing on the driver's side was really bad. A good friend and me, we took pretty much the back half of it apart to get it figured out. We got a new wheel bearing in, so now that issue is no more. But so that's the update for the Corvette. So with Boomerang, I ended up making those vents for the windows because the first time I went camping, it was super hot. Was not a fan of it. Like, I almost didn't want to do it again, but I knew what I needed to do for a solution. So I should have better photos I'll put up too. But here's just a quick view of the vents I made. So it's just like it's like fake cardboard. It's made out of plastic. A lot of like for sale signs are made with this stuff. I had an old mesh frame thing from the house, so I used that. If you check out my Instagram, you probably already know all the stuff that I'm talking about because I posted it there as well. But I have my CB radio installed, bam, as well as my PA system, which actually sounds really cool, and that's where I put it. So it's not pointing in the direction the car is going to move, it's pointing backwards. So if it's raining or I'm picking up dust, it's not just going to like gather in it as much. Hopefully that's the idea. The last thing I did to the TJ since the last video is I put the passenger seat back in. Hopefully I can start working again as a supply teacher or an occasional teacher. But I just figured as a daily I should probably put that back in. I still have all the parts to convert it back to a bed ready to go. So when the timing is right for that road trip, it's not going to be too much work to convert this thing back to what it was, and then I can hit the road. If you have any questions on any of the builds I'm doing or the channel itself, let me know in the comments. I have a website that I try to post to as well. I find it sometimes it can be a lot in one video, so I try to break it down that way. I also in this video just want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. If you're subscribed, you probably know this video took a bit longer than the other ones to post. It's not because I had trouble figuring out the engine or things like that. It's because I had trouble kind of figuring out where I wanted to go with this channel. Originally, it wasn't supposed to be me working on stuff in my garage. Originally, it was supposed to be me driving across the country, seeing cool stuff, and like sharing my adventure with you as I change as a person, I guess, or something like that. Like changing from experience to become the best version of myself. And I'm still doing that, but not with the journey part, which is kind of weird. So that's what I've been trying to figure out in terms of what type of videos I want to make and things like that. So that's kind of where I am right now in terms of working on the channel. In addition to these vehicles, like I definitely want to be genuine and enjoy the videos that I make. So if it was just only about the cars or the Jeeps, I probably wouldn't enjoy it as much as if it was something more than that. So I'm still trying to figure out what that exactly means so I can bring it to the channel. So something else that's been on my mind is if this Jeep, the Wagoneer, the Grand Wagoneer from the 86, named L, if this is ready in time, should I take this over Boomerang, my TJ? And the reason why I'm kind of thinking in that sense is they both have their pros and cons. One of them takes a lot of gas and has a ton of power. One of them doesn't take so much gas and is powerless. I'm sure you can figure out which one it is. And if I want to use that trailer, I pretty much can't have anything in it, so it makes it useless because I don't have enough power to hit the speeds I want to hit, which is the speed limit. So yeah, that's another thing that I've been thinking about. Should I take the Wagoneer on the road trip when that time comes over the TJ or not? Both of them can work. It's just a different approach to it, a different mindset, and that's something I got to think about and figure out and share it with you when the time comes. So thank you for watching the video. Thank you for subscribing or being a subscriber. It means a lot. And I'm really excited that I'm in a position where I can make content, put it out there, get feedback, move forward, and maybe inspire someone to do a road trip or something like that too.